So the CDC has recently released new guidelines, and they have officially declared that fully vaccinated Americans can basically ditch their mask.
Considering all of these factors, the data on vaccine effectiveness, the science on their ability to protect against circulating variants, and our growing understanding of the low risk of transmission to others, combined with universal access to vaccines for those 12 and older, today, CDC is updating our guidance for fully vaccinated people. Anyone who is fully vaccinated can participate in indoor and outdoor activities, large or small, without wearing a mask or physical distancing. If you are fully vaccinated, you can start doing the things that you had stopped doing because of the pandemic. We have all longed for this moment when we can get back to some sense of normalcy. Based on the continuing downward trajectory of cases, the scientific data on the performance of our vaccines, and our understanding of how the virus spreads, that moment has come for those who are fully vaccinated.
And this has kind of caused an uproar on social media. A lot of people are talking about it. A lot of people are wondering, I guess it's real life, and apparently it is. So, first of all, I'm pretty sure that I can speak for everyone when I say that literally everybody was caught off guard by this news. And I'm not exaggerating. What I have in front of me is an article from The Atlantic by Derek Thompson, and he says, if you're surprised by the agency's free your face announcement, you're not alone. State officials had no idea it was coming. Businesses were caught off guard. Even White House officials were reportedly surprised by both the timing and the substance of the new advice, according to CNN. The CDC is notionally the business of offering public health guidance, but when a government agency's recommendations consistently surprise or confuse members of its own government, one wonders if it's serving as a particular effective guide. Now, all of that's completely true, but it literally caught everyone on every level of society off guard. I have to admit, me personally, I was not expecting this news anytime soon. Them saying that fully vaccinated people can ditch the mask, and you may wonder, well, why they're fully vaccinated? Why wouldn't you expect this kind of news? Well, because the CDC has been fumbling this entire pandemic just like everybody else has. The politicians get a lot of flack, and rightfully so. Americans get a lot of flack, and rightfully so. But the CDC has not been, A, 100% honest, and 2, 100% valid in many cases. I mean, there's this big slogan called follow the science. Well, in some cases, the CDC themselves didn't even seem to follow the science. Like, a lot of their guidelines would be outdated. Even when we began vaccinating people, a lot of their guidelines would be like, oh, well, still shut down playgrounds and all of this and that. Meanwhile, we already know that the vaccine that the virus doesn't spread outside the same way it does inside. And they were still, shutting down like after school activities outside, or different kind of sports activities or whatever. So they were really fumbling this entire time. Okay, they weren't the most reliable source, and I mean, this attributes to a lot of people turning away from them, and it's sad to see because they're the agency that's supposed to be our guiding light in this whole debacle here. With that being said, the businesses, on the other hand, have taken this in stride, and one by one, as if it's a domino effect, they have declared that not only their customers, but their employees as well can ditch the masks if they're fully vaccinated. And I have an article from CNBC that details just that. But listen, because this is very interesting, and this gets into a problem that a lot of people are starting to bring up with this new news. So it says, Walmart executive said in the memo that the retailer will continue to request that non-vaccinated customers and members wear face coverings in our stores and clubs. Emphasis on the word request. They said stores will have updated signs that reflect the new policy. They did not say if or how Walmart will verify if customers are vaccinated or not. For employees who want to work without wearing a mask at the store, distribution center, or facility, Walmart said it will verify their status by asking them. if they have or have not gotten vaccinated. It will rely on the person's yes or no answer during a daily health assessment. So integrity, honesty, those are the type of things that they're looking for. I mean, can you really trust people to be honest and to have integrity? And that's the big problem that people are bringing up. Okay, you say, well, fully vaccinated people don't have to wear masks anymore. Well, how do we know who's fully vaccinated and who's not fully vaccinated? How do we know? Based upon their answer? Many people can just say, no, they're not. I mean, it can go either way. And then the people that are fully vaccinated, a lot of them may not be comfortable taking their mask off. And so there's many different rifts with this, and this is a very complex situation. You know, of course, you have the people that never wear the mask anyway, the anti-maskers that are just like, well, whatever, it doesn't matter. This news is nothing to them because they've never put on the mask in the first place, and they aren't vaccinated either. And a lot of people are bringing up those people, like those people will be in the mix with those that are fully vaccinated that have ditched the mask, but you're not going to be able to tell who's who. And this has caused such a spark, such an outcry, so to speak, that people aren't even really looking at all of the details. So the CDC released this information, but they also released a plethora of other guidelines, such as in places like doctors' offices, like pharmacies, places of medicine and like airports, for instance, like dental places. Masks are still going to be worn. They're still going to be recommended. I think in some federal places, I think that masks are still going to be worn. And of course, if any state or local private business or whatever wants to still mandate masks, they have the freedom to do so. But people are seeing this and they're just running with it and going, okay, free mask, no mask. But they're ignoring a lot of the minor details, which really aren't that minor, that go along with this news. One thing that I feel is that people have gotten so used to pandemic life, it feels like this is normalcy, when it in fact isn't. There was a life before the pandemic, and it was very different from life during the pandemic. And so people may be kind of lackadaisical, although some people may not be able to relate to this, about returning to a quote unquote pre-pandemic, or in this case, I guess, a post-pandemic life, basically to how life was before the pandemic began. And, I would extend an olive branch to those people and say that, the pandemic, I feel like, is something that should be dealt with, not something that people should necessarily get used to, because at some point it's going to end and life is going to return to a quote unquote normal, and we will resume normal operations. But in doing so, in certain important questions have to be asked, they have to be posed, and there needs to be answers to those questions about, how are we going to know who's vaccinated? Are there ways of checking? How are we going to fix this problem of people being apprehensive about getting the vaccine? What methods are we going to take to get more people vaccinated? This approach of, and this is the general consensus, it's, oh, well, we're going to ask them, and yes or no, we'll just take their word for it. I don't know if I really trust that method. But at the same time, if people are vaccinated, then they can take off their mask. I mean, I would do the same thing. The CNBC article says that as of Thursday, roughly 47% of the population, more than 154 million Americans, have received at least one vaccine dose, according to the CDC. About 118 million Americans are fully vaccinated, according to the agency. So basically what's happened here is we have a surplus of vaccines. We do. Now, that's good for us. Now, in other places around the world, other than America, that are struggling with the lack of vaccines and the lack of the vaccine formulas, that's bad for them. But that's an entirely different subject. But we have a surplus, and we're doing pretty good on vaccinations. The problem that we've run into is people's apprehensiveness to go and get vaccinated. So people are kind of sketched out on the vaccination part. So a certain group of the population, obviously, because everybody's not inoculated at this point. And so they're trying to cross that roadblock and figure out how to get around it. Well, I just covered a topic that talked about the Ohio governor willing to pay people $1 million to get a vaccination. Well, I think that that should apply to the entire country. My idea, as many other people have thought about, this isn't an original idea for me, is that I think that it would be beneficial if the federal government would step in and provide people with funds. It doesn't have to be that much. It can be $200, $300, not that much to get vaccinated. And half of the population is already vaccinated, maybe not fully vaccinated, but they've at least had one shot. So we're not talking about a great deal of money as it pertains to something that the federal government can do, because businesses are already pretty much doing this. They're giving employees bonuses, gift cards, whatever the case may be. They're giving them funds as an incentive to go and get vaccinated. So this isn't anything new, really, because private businesses are already practicing this sort of method to get people vaccinated. But the risks still lie. There's still a rift. People are still kind of weirded out by this whole thing. It came really fast. This news was very unexpected. As I just pointed out at the beginning, literally on every level of society, the regular people, the business owners, the people in the White House, the government, nobody expected this, but this news has been received and people are acting, some accordingly, some unaccordingly, and we'll just have to see where it goes. But I would like to pose the question, what are you going to do? Are you going to continue to wear your mask? Are you not going to continue to wear your mask? Do you trust the science? As many people will say, do you not trust the science? I honestly don't really know what to think about it. The science is science. They say that if you're vaccinated, then you don't have to wear the mask. And I believe it because I believe in vaccines and I do believe in the science. But this news has come, this entire situation has been like a whirlwind. It's been over a year and a lot of people are on the edge and a lot of people are ready to take the mask off. But at the same time, you have people that are asking questions, valid questions, those of which, who do you know is vaccinated? How are you going to go about telling if people are vaccinated? I doubt a lot of these businesses are going to be asking their customers if they're vaccinated and asking for vaccinated or vaccine validation and things of that nature. And as it pertains to the employees, it seems all it's going to take is a yes or no answer. So this is very interesting development, and I guess we'll just have to monitor going forward how things end up working out.